Story 1. Whether I found her attractive or not, I would give her my phone number. Takes a lot of courage to approach a stranger like that. Story 2. I have. We dated. We even had sexual intercourse. It turns out the world does not end if women take initiative. Story 3. I guess it depends on who this person is. I would most likely think it is some type of scam, as who in the world would approach me, let alone like me? Most likely not, but you never know. Story 4. I am a man in his late 50s. It is far more likely that a woman asking for my number is bait in a scam than an actual romantic possibility. Story 5. Yes, probably. Mainly because I like her confidence, and since I am not the best-looking guy, I already know there is an attraction on her side. Story 6. I would be very flattered for sure. I will likely just go with it, as I would probably be caught off guard and stuck on stupid. Story 7. Honestly, it all depends on the vibe, intent, and conversation. I cannot just give my number to anyone these days. Story 8. Heck yes, I would. You never turn down opportunities like these when they are presented. That is like asking a homeless man if he would accept food when he has been starving for days. Story 9. It's happened before, and I've given my number. It's kind of weird when a stranger approaches you in public, but the bottom line is that if nothing else, it puts a warm smile on your face and an extra bounce in your heart. So it's great. Story 10. No, I do not want to make the mistake of getting into a relationship. Too much effort. I am far happier on my own. Story 11. It comes down to the feeling you get after exchanging eye contact and words. If the vibe is good, why not? But if there is something alarming or the person is just aggressively trying to get your contact information without really acknowledging you, then probably not. Story 12. Well, she would have to do it the same way I approach a woman in public. Start a conversation about a random topic, stand back, and let me respond, signaling indifference or replying with interest. Then, if I show interest, chat me up a bit. Bonus points if she asks for my number so we can maybe hang out sometime. No complimenting any of my physical attributes, beyond maybe asking if I work out. Story 13. Just had it happen last night for the first time ever. Maybe. Usually, I make the first move. She was really awkward about it, though, which I guess could be chalked up to nerves. We traded numbers and walked around. I kissed her goodbye. Too bad for her, I was driving 9 hours away the next morning. Confidence boost, though. Story 14. I would ask my wife if she was okay with it. Hypothetically, if I were single, it would depend on whether it was the result of a good conversation or completely unexpected. I would be suspicious if it was totally out of the blue. Is she trying to get me involved in a cult? Is her boyfriend going to harm me? Story 15. This happened a few times to me at a bar. The girls were gorgeous. I was skeptical and it did not go past that. Story 16. I had a woman ask me to buy her a chocolate croissant at a coffee shop. I thought she was crazy and ran away. This behavior is very unusual in Boston, so I would suspect a scam. Story 17. I would assume it is for any number of reasons except for romantic interest, but yes, I would give it to her just in case it was. Story 18. On behalf of all single men, wanted and yes. Unless I was in Colombia, then I would be suspicious and say no. Story 19. I have been asked and refused, not because I am against it, but because of who asked and the circumstances. Still, I was very impressed. Even though I was not interested, it was gutsy. Story 20. It depends on how she feels about it. If it is creepy, no. If it is genuine, yes. If unknown, she can have the Instagram. Story 21. Unless I find her repellent, yes. I would want to reward her for having the courage to take the initiative. Story 22. I live in a big city, so if it is a random call, then no. I also have my phone set to ignore numbers that are not in my contacts, so even if I did answer, it would not matter. If we connect, I will make sure we remain in contact through the many ways available instead of my telephone number. Story 23. I would be flattered, but I would have to say, yes, you can get it from my wife. Honestly, it would not be the first time either. Some women do not care if you have that ring. Story 24. It has happened. I gave her my number. I would say I am very selective with the women I am attracted to, But a woman asking shows some initiative, and automatically I am interested in at least chatting, if not immediately giving my number. Maybe something comes of it, maybe it does not. Story 25. If I were single, not these days, but I would invite them to join me for a coffee. If they cannot take the time to do that, then they are not interested in me. Story 26. I would be torn between three possibilities. 1. She is an enterprising woman who desires me. 2. She wants me to buy cryptocurrency. 3. She will sell my kidney. I do not know which is the most realistic. Story 27. One time I was in Costco wearing a black floral shirt, and I heard a voice near me say, "You are really wearing that shirt well. You look good." Without even turning to see who said it, I said thank you and walked out the door. Story 28. They have. I did if I got a good vibe from them with mixed results. These days, I take the compliment. It is when they are persistent to an actual stranger, like I did not just literally say I am taken, that it gets infuriating. Story 29. Depends. Not out cold, but if we chat for a bit enough to see if she is a normal person, and if there is some level of attraction, absolutely would. If there is no attraction or chemistry when chatting, I may politely decline. Story 30. I would cut her off mid-sentence to say, "I have a girlfriend," then call her a creep and tell her not to objectify me. I would say she needs to check her privilege, that I do not exist for the female gaze, and that her approaching me is actually toxic femininity and a direct result of the matriarchy. Story 31. I would be a little nervous about it because I am 95% sure they are just going to try to sell me something, but I will do it on the off chance they might be serious. It has been a difficult mating season for bird person. Story 32. I would do it unless they are obviously a rude person or have a personality that is not very good. Then I would get to know them and go on from there. Story 33. I was once waiting for the bus to go to my friends, but I was in another part of town. Then a girl approached me, asked for my number and name, and offered to give me a ride with her girlfriend. I doubted a little because I'm not handsome, but neither ugly. I was more scared than anything that day, but it turned out she was a pretty chill girl, extremely confident around strangers. I gave her my number, but we never chatted much or became friends. Also, out of the 10 girls I've been with, all of them started the conversation or relationship. I have never sought any woman in my life. Story 34. My wife approached me at a party and got my phone number. She was leaving shortly after I arrived, but credit to her for asking. Story 35. Really depends on the situation. Assuming I were not married, of course. If we were out in some social setting and we had a good vibe going, I would probably give her my number or just ask for hers, then text her to check if she got it. I probably would not think much of it. I would assume she was just being friendly. If it were a bit more blunt or random, I think I would be a little more on alert. Story 36. As long as her creepy hipster boyfriend isn't standing behind her looking at me like a free buffet. Sure. I lived in Seattle and this happened to me more than once. Story 37. I would probably spend a few minutes looking for the secret camera. If there is no camera, then yes, I would give it. Story 38. I would be a very happy man. I have never successfully asked a woman out in person. All my dates have been through dating applications. Story 39. I have never heard a man say he would have a problem with a woman approaching him, but I have heard women ask if it would be okay many times and not believe men when we say we would be receptive. They just ignore it and say, well, that is not what they have heard their whole lives, which is obviously from other women. My only conclusion is that women give each other awful advice about men. Story 40. As someone who is very shy when it comes to approaching a woman, I would feel overjoyed if she came to me. It means that someone wants to get to know me and is clearly showing that she is comfortable with me talking to her, while I struggle to figure out whether she is or not. For that reason, yes. Story 41. It depends on the context. The first thing I would think about is that it is a prank. But if she came and asked me about a certain topic until the ice was broken, then asked for the number, well played. Story 42. It still depends on the woman asking and the vibes I am picking up, but most likely, yes, I would like it and give her my number. Story 43. No way. If she was attractive, it is a scam or trap of some sort. If she was unattractive, then I do not want her contacting me. Story 44. I would be excited and probably call her. That being said, I am gay, so she might be disappointed or very excited. Story 45. In this day and age, it is more likely to be a scam or even human trafficking, so no for me. I am pretty sure my organs are worth more than my face, so there is a no again. I would rather be single than have a single kidney. I guess that is my risk appetite. Story 46. Yes, but to be fair, if a clown, witch, or spooky gothic girl asked me to accompany them into the dark woods, at this point I would just go. Story 47. There is no one-size-fits-all answer here. A person's appearance in this scenario definitely does not matter. Story 48. I am married. But if I imagine my wife being the one who approached me when we first met instead of the other way around, wow, I would have been so flattered. It is fun to imagine for sure. I am so lucky that we found each other, so it does not matter who approached whom. If you are a woman and worried about approaching a man, just go for it. Men rarely experience being openly interested in like that. Story 49. My wife would probably be pretty upset about that, so I would politely decline. However, in no universe would it ever happen. Story 50. I would not give my number. I do not want to be the unwitting target of anything. Asking for a different social platform like Discord is better. Story 51. It depends. Is she at least 6 feet tall, has blue eyes, is wealthy and well endowed? If not, it should give you the unpleasant feeling and you should laugh at her. Story 52. I have been in 4 long-term relationships in my life, all of which started because I was attractive as a teenager, attractive enough for teenage girls my age to make the first move. I have been single for a couple of decades now. I am too shy and afraid of rejection to make any moves on women, so I would greatly appreciate it if it were more normal for women to make the first move. Story 53. One day, I was wearing a football jersey from Arsenal with the player Mesut Ozil on it. A girl ran toward me, it's not exaggerated, saying, "Hey, I'm a big fan of Ozil. You're wearing his shirt. That's amazing." She was totally excited like I was the actual Ozil. I am French and she was a tourist or something speaking to me in English. I can write and understand English, but I'm not used to speaking it. I realized. That day I was totally paralyzed in this situation and couldn't say a word. She wouldn't leave even when I started to walk away because I was ashamed. When I thought she was gone, she came back again with her phone, but I couldn't even understand what she was saying at that moment. That was totally awkward, and she finally gave up. The next 3 hours, I finally understood what happened and felt terrible about it. Story 54. Probably. Unless I get a creepy vibe, then no. They could be organ traffickers. I mean, the chance of them being organ traffickers is incredibly low, but still. Story 55. You should have asked the men to include whether they identify as an involuntarily celibate person so that it could be taken into consideration alongside their answer. Story 56. I'm married and a father, so I must politely decline, but I am extremely flattered and will carry that confidence boost with me for quite some time. If I were single and found her even slightly attractive, I would absolutely pursue it and probably not stop thinking about her until our date ends. I have always thought that a woman who initiates romance and is confident or bold enough to go after what she wants is one of the most attractive things. I can imagine. It is rare, and it would feel like one of those moments where you know it will be a whirlwind, life-changing experience. You just say yes and get swept away. It is a fantasy of mine, one I will regrettably go to the grave never having experienced. Shame. I hope we get to live twice. Story 57. I think she was setting me up to be robbed and murdered because that has happened before quite a few times. Maybe not a ton, but enough times to make me extra cautious. I believe any man who says yes has no survival instincts. Story 58. Honestly, I would give my phone number to any girl if she approached me first. Then I would assess the vibes later based on our conversations and dates. Story 59. I probably would, but at first I would feel like it was a scam, that she was trying to rob me, or that it was a prank. Story 60. The last time that happened to me, I ended up receiving a new credit card in the mail about 2 weeks later. Story 61. Unless she has a work-related agenda, no. My wife would not appreciate me trying to get with random women. Also, don't make me laugh. I am completely invisible to women. Story 62. I would be open to it, but I would rather start with Instagram or something similar. I would be happy if a girl I was interested in approached me to ask for my number and would be more inclined to give it then. However, if I am not initially interested, I probably will not want to give my number without at least knowing a bit more about her first. Story 63. Depends on what they look like. It is awkward when someone you are not interested in does that, and then you feel bad turning them down. Story 64. A girl approached me and asked if she could give me her phone number. I politely declined since I am married, but it really made my day. No, it made my week. It is extremely rare to be approached by a woman as an average-looking man, so it really boosted my confidence. Story 65. Wow, so many people just saying yes without questioning anything. It really depends heavily on how attractive she is. Story 66. I would assume it is a prank and just laugh awkwardly, then walk away. Later, sitting at home, I would wonder if she was serious, but she probably was not. Story 67. Not without some type of exploratory conversation first. Remember the headlines about a woman who texted a man over 600 times in an hour because he did not respond? Story 68. If we have a conversation first and then she asks yes, otherwise no, I would be very suspicious about why a woman would take an interest in me. Story 69. Absolutely. I'm saying yes to any woman who approaches me, as it demonstrates confidence and they do not follow social norms, which I find attractive. This happened a couple of weeks ago, and she is an absolute stunner, so her approaching me caught me by surprise. Story 70. Probably not. I would give her my secondary email just in case she is unreliable, which would be highly likely if she approached me. Story 71. These are Reddit men. Of course, they would love it. They cannot even talk to a woman, let alone make eye contact with her. Story 72. I would be so flabbergasted that my brain would probably try to find a way out immediately. Maybe she would get the number, maybe she would not. It has little to do with her and more to do with how tired my brain is. Story 73. This does not happen, so I do not know how I would react. I never think about how I will respond to a situation like this. Story 74. I hit 8,000 plus karma on a single comment today about being exhausted from trying to date and having given up. Assuming I got good vibes from the woman, I would give her my number and be on cloud 9 for months. Story 75. I would ask why she wanted my phone number and tell her that I am not emotionally stable. Hopefully, she moves on. Story 76. No, I really dislike being approached by women in public when I am just trying to mind my own business and go about my day. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.